You are listening to the Blueprints Brocast with Jay Cruz
and Austyn Tokar.
Did you see that new study about the obese people?
Wait, it's just about the obese people?
Yeah, there's more obese people in the world now than there are people who are underweight.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, if I just walk outside right now, or if I go to the store, if I go to the mall, I'm not going to look at people generally and be like, oh, that person's undernourished and that person's undernourished. But I can immediately recognize, hey, you have too much food. You have too much food. Like easily. Yes.
Yeah. Like, especially in like first world countries where you have that food available to you, like it's pretty significant and it's pretty obvious. There's like every person I see, not every person, but like every other person I see is like, borderline overweight. And then obviously there's a good chunk pushing that obese line.
Yeah. I was watching this guy here, this comedian, and he said, the problem with people that don't have food is that they're still alive because people keep bringing them food. If they would just stop bringing them food and the people move to where the food is, they wouldn't have to keep bringing these people food.
Yeah.
But I think it's true in that anybody that's out there sustaining themselves in the jungle, if they're in the Himalayas, like all these like random like super edge of the world people, they're sustaining their lives. So they're fed well, like enough. They know how to sustain. And there's very few places where people are undernourished because they would just eventually just die off, right?
Yeah.
So the only other option is, normally fed people and obese people. Like there isn't this obscurity of people that are dying of hunger. I mean, yes, obviously they exist, but they exist and they're holding on to like the edge of life because people keep barely sustaining. They do bring food to them so that they can continue to sustain in a place that's an unsustainable like habitat for them.
Yeah. Even a lot of cultures still live in that hunter-gatherer type of society though. So where they kill what they eat, right?
Yeah.
You have to go out and get it and find food for yourself, either for that day or for the week, whatever it is. And so if we even look at like Quaker, are they Quakers? No. Like the Amish.
I was
Quakers.
gonna let you get there. I knew the word. I would let you get there.
Yeah. I was like, Amish, that's the one. Yeah. If you look at them, like everything they do is self-sustaining. They live in their own society. Sometimes they go in the outside world, but for the most part, everything is within their community. So they grow their own animals. They have their own vegetables. They raise their own animals and grow their own vegetables.
Same.
Yeah. And they only have a certain amount of people. They don't have too many people for the amount of food they have, within each community. So whenever there is a surplus, you're probably going to take advantage of it. But if there's only just enough, you're going to make sure to ration it and grow or raise things appropriately and use what you absolutely need, not in excess. The problem is there's so much excess food that people are like, you know what, I'll just keep eating because it's just there. They have the opportunity. People want to feel good constantly. And a lot of people do that through food.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say it's like excess food because we have America specifically has food that's not food. I mean, half the stuff on the shelves, we've talked about this before, that it's made with so many different non-food items. Like if you read the ingredients and it's stuff that was created in the laboratory, it's like people are eating stuff that's not food. So now we're sustaining people, and the reason why they're getting overweight is because they're eating something that's not normally supposed to be in the body, and it's probably over, like, I don't know what you want to say, over the energy consumption is too high compared to their output.
Yeah.
They're getting fat, overweight because that type of food creates laziness, as opposed to, like you said, Amish people, it's almost all natural food. They're raising it themselves and they're growing it themselves. So they also have to do the work to get it. So they're expending energy to do it. So it makes sense that, we live in a push button world when we microwave our food half the time. We drive up to somewhere to get our food. We don't even walk. And then we go from there and we park our car right next to our kitchen and or sometimes we eat it in the car. We live in a world, especially, like you said, first world countries, that promotes like laziness. And like there's a drawback. Like the first inventions were made so to make something easier. But the easier you make something, now you've also created a problem. So sometimes creating a solution to something is creating a problem somewhere else. I mean, I wonder if that's almost one to one. If you create a solution to something, you create a problem somewhere else.
It can be. Um, Depends on how people react to it. I mean, there are obviously things in human nature that you're going to be predisposed to. It's like if something gets easier, you're going to adapt to that. It's like when you feed like zoo animals, if we're over an extended period of time, they'll forget how to live out in the wild, because they're expecting that meal like 3, 4 times a day, whatever it is. So they're being relying on you to give you that food. Same thing for people. Like if you just have all these fast food restaurants, chains, whatever, disappear in the middle of the night, and people just like wake up the next day and they're going to that spot. They're like, "Hey, what's going on? How am I going to eat?"
Mm.
They have to actually think for a second, and they're like, "What am I going to do?" Like people think that's funny, but it's literally that would literally happen to people. They don't know how to function without the ease of access for these food items. Think of how many people would not know how to, you know, get food. Like even sometimes for us in certain things, get food and kill it or grow it. Like how many people, if they had to live that lifestyle, how many people would probably, die off?
Oh yeah, just like what I just said earlier. Like, hey, you go where the food's at. Well, if let's just say just fast food restaurants. If we eliminated just fast food restaurants, I wonder how much the needle would move toward. No, you know what? It would get worse because, again, you fix one solution and then you create another problem. So because you get rid of that, then they're going to create even faster foods that you can microwave from home, or foods that become now dehydrated that are probably not good for you, and you just pour water on the thing and eat it.
There
Like,
we got that now.
yeah, but there'll be more of it to fix a solution that was made. So like, okay, we got rid of fast food places because we deemed these not good for society, but now what else are we gonna do to still make food convenient for people on the go? And they're gonna eat those, bars and stuff that like, hey, this is meal replacement. Just have this instead, and you'll end up still in the same place. I think.
Someone's gonna have a bucket of meal rations in their trunk. It's like, oh, I need to get some food. Stop the car,
Yeah,
and then pull out that bucket.
I bet cars will start having water
Feeder
heaters,
tubes.
feeder tubes. No, like a water boiler on it, so you can pour it on your food or whatever it is. We would just keep adapting to whatever the new stimulus is or whatever it is. Like, hey, we'll take away this, then we'll offer you something else. It's kind of like I know this is kind of off topic, but because you've created these ways to make food easily, and someone in the house is not necessarily cooking it, it removes even family time. And so now, people are not as close together in general. It changes a lot of things. So you may make food easier, getting together as a society and as a community. People stop doing that too. So like man, if you could really go down the rabbit hole on how much fixing something, especially like food, changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw earlier, I don't know whether it was you or whether it was Justin, was talking about how like mental health has to do with gut health, and having a good gut health actually affects your mental state.
Yeah, that was Justin.
That was
His
Justin?
post on there.
Okay.
Yeah, people were like, "There's no research on it." I'm like, "There's plenty of research on it."
Yeah, and it was crazy because then I think it was like two posts later, he's like, "Well, let me pull up the information for you," and he pulls up like, it was like 54% of people that are having mental issues were constipated or not regular, or they were having, I guess, consistent diarrhea. So like, obviously, I mean, I would be depressed too if I had diarrhea all the time, but there was something gut health wise that was related to mental health. So sure, you're saying, hey, did I see the study on we have a obesity epidemic? But again, that actually translates into the mental health aspect of our country, and other first, honestly, to be honest, the mental health issues of first world countries is probably worse than places that don't have access to the same trash food.
Well, there's quite a few things that go into play in that because, like, they're also not on their phones because some of them don't even have phones, or if they do, it's like, decades old phones by now, flip phones, all that good stuff. can't play on it. You don't have access to the internet directly. So think of how many countries, well, there's not that many, but there's quite a few still that don't have direct access to internet and have to actually work to find it, or even individuals who live in a first world country, just parts of it are very, dumpy. They
Yeah.
look like third world countries. They don't have access, easy access like we do. The easier things get, the more you can say dumb and lazy people get, essentially. Um, the surplus population will get.
Mm.
Like, there's always going to be a few that use it to their benefit, but then there's going to be the majority of people who don't.
Yeah, I was watching one of those Netflix documentaries, and it was talking about food, and that the food, like, people are always conspiracy theorists are saying like, oh, the food industry, they're trying to make you sick, and they give you bad food, and they're in cahoots with the medicine and medical big pharma, so they keep you sick, and then big pharma will keep you just on life support and keep you just well enough so that, hey, you keep buying the trash food, but you also need medicine to stay alive and all this kind of stuff. But what they were claiming in this documentary was, hey, what we do is we just give two products to our test groups, and the test groups, they like the food that's not good for them. So that's the food that we create because that proves that they're going to buy it. So they've said that they're going to buy that, so we're going to make what they want to buy. But then the more you introduce these ultra processed parts to a food, that's the part that the body starts craving more and more. So the more you add into it, the next time you put what was sample A and B together, now the next time they do a sampling, you're putting B and C. And so you've eliminated the less processed. And so now we have taste buds that like processed food more and more down the line. That's even like cereals and stuff. That's how they've become. Just anything that you eat has become more and more processed because our bodies have been tuned to like them. And that's part of the issue.
I think a lot of that relates to other aspects too, for people in voting. Also, it's just like, if it's easy for them and they somewhat get what they want, they're probably going to continue doing it because it is very hard to get people to do things like not even just like voting directly with votes, but vote with your money. Like the whole thing with Walmart right now, where they're going to expect people to pay a premium price to use the self checkout. Like, I
I didn't hear
really
this.
doubt.
I didn't hear this. What is it? What's going on?
So, because of how much Walmart and a few other stores like Target and whatever else, maybe Walgreens too, because of how much they lost during the times of people just stealing, whatever items since COVID,
What
they're
people
going to
are
try
we
to
talking about? Hold on. Who are these people?
anybody, bro. People, everyone steals. Everybody steals. But, you know, because of how much money it's like tens of millions of dollars worth of items,
Hmm.
because how much got stolen, they're pretty much, instead of just like stopping the stealing, essentially, they're going to try to make that money back by having this premium offer for um, their service. So the service being like self-checkout, because they know people are going to use it. That's also the way people steal is go through the self-checkout lane and walk out.
Yeah.
Yeah, freaking my cat's going
But
crazy.
dude, that makes no sense. So I'm gonna go and scan my own items, which they have somebody that they pay to do that. I feel
Yeah,
like if I go to self checkout, I should get a discount because they're now not paying somebody to check out for me and do the money transaction. I'm doing it
yeah.
myself. I feel like I should get paid.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying is like because self-checkout is so easy and so many people rely on these places specifically, they're like, oh, you know what? I really want to get this specific item because it's at Walmart. I'm just going to continue going there rather than stop supporting them or stop supporting Target with your money. It's just easier to keep going there, pay the premium, and then get what you want out of it. So this is how all these, quote unquote, billionaire billionaires and billionaire companies, continue to get richer because people are just like, whatever. So it's the same thing with food. If it's easier to get, it's just like the ease of access thing. People
Mm.
are essentially too lazy to make the right choice. That's what it comes down to.
It's like it's what they're used to, and they just
Yeah.
keep going back to it. It's like the frog in the boiling water analogy, where you can start it really low and you put it on very slow boil, and the frog will never.
That's not a true thing.
It's not.
No, it's not. Like if you do that, it's a totally made up story.
How so?
Frog
You think so?
frogs won't do it as soon as they feel it's hot. They jump.
Okay, so okay, instead of having the source at the bottom, warming it at the bottom, so obviously the bottom's going to get hot, right?
Yeah.
Maybe what if you warmed it from the sides?
Man, I don't know. I didn't do the study, but apparently is BS. So
I heard the carrot thing was BS too, where carrots are good for
which
your
one?
eyes.
I don't know, it has keratin in it. So
No, I know, but so here, the story behind that I watched, again, like I'm just telling you the story. Like, hey, I'm about to tell you guys something that I have not verified, but the story goes is that there was a guy. I think it was World War One. He was the first one to have a radar on his airplane, and he could see other airplanes at night, and so he would shoot them down, and he would come back, and he was always eating a carrot. So people thought that carrots were good for your eyes because he was shooting people down at nighttime, but he had actually had radar on his airplane. So the story started going that hey, if you eat carrots, it's good for your eyes.
sounds
That's
like good marketing.
yeah,
That's what it is.
that's that's what I heard. It might not be true. I'll probably have to look that one up. But
See, the problem with that nowadays is like there's so everyone knows all the micronutrients and all the research behind things. Well, at least you have access to it. So that's like a hard sell now. It's like it's good for your eyes. So I would say some people would believe it. They're like, oh yeah, sure.
the funny thing about that, when you're even saying that, do people market vegetables? Have you ever seen vegetables being marketed?
Yeah. I mean, I see it all the time.
Like what? I don't
What
remember
do
the
you mean?
last vegetable commercial I've seen.
Oh, you mean like commercials? No.
Yeah, like hey, eat this. Like hey, eat my carrots. I've never seen that.
Probably because there's like such a big boon for like eating healthy, so they don't actually have to. It just gets sold anyway. They're like, oh, I gotta eat vegetables to be healthy. That's kind of like what's being sold.
Mm.
It's like, and you want to get those micronutrients from it, but it's like, I think they just sell themselves now. It's at that point. It's like meat. Meat practically sells itself. It tastes good.
Yeah,
You're
it's
going after
true.
that. People are like, whatever, I'll just have meat.
But beef and chicken are still marketed though.
Yeah, for like fast food. I don't really see I don't specifically see like, you know, how you have hot dog commercials basically for ballpark, whatever
Yeah,
it is. I don't see like chicken breast commercials or steak commercials
exactly.
unless it's something like what is it? Um one of those packaged meat plans. They send a box of meat out to you. I forget what they're called. There's like quite a few
Oh
companies
yeah,
that
yeah.
do it.
Omaha Steaks
But
does that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, those are the only things I see like marketing for the. But even then, it's just kind of like, oh, try the meats, whatever.
yeah. I think
It's not like,
the point behind me saying that is that nobody needs to prove to you that these are good for you.
yeah,
Like hey, they're good for you. But now let me prove to you that my healthy non-food item is healthy for you. Let me present this bar that has all the things that you need in it. Hey, don't worry about vegetables and don't worry about fruit. Just eat this bar that I've made and it replaces all of that for you. Or my greens. Hey, like I got sponsored by this new company. Eat my greens.
yeah. I think when the world or when the fast food companies don't have to rely on commercials anymore, I think then we have a problem,
If they don't need to
a
make
real problem.
commercials,
Yeah,
I
like McDonald's, I think is at that point where they don't have to. They probably sustain still. I mean, obviously, they good still has to taste good, but like you still want to market to people to some extent. Even if it's like a really short, like you've seen those short blip commercials that are like 5 seconds, really weird ones.
yeah,
Sometimes McDonald's would do that. It's like, well, they don't need it anymore. Once you see that big M, it's like
yeah.
you already know.
I actually see McDonald's on social media advertising more than I do like actual TV commercials or like
It's
um,
cheaper,
anywhere else. Yeah, and
cheaper and
you
reaches
reach
more
more people.
people.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's like why not?
What do you think? In that study, um, what do you think could fix it, or not necessarily fix it, but what do you do in your realm with your clients, like to help fight obesity, basically?
I think it's not even just in my client realm because a lot of them know what they have to do. I think it's just people need to understand that they just need to eat less. And most people aren't willing to accept the fact that they're eating too much. They'll say, I'm eating healthy, but they're not actually tracking what they eat.
Yeah,
And then people always make an excuse like, oh, it's very mentally unhealthy to track all the food you're eating. Well, guess what? You're probably going to die sooner from obesity and heart issues. If you don't start tracking now, then you will from mental pains, whatever it is. Like it's just there's always some sort of cop out from measuring what you're eating. I don't know why, but like there's always a pushback to it. When in reality, it's like, yes, it can be mentally taxing and very unforgiving at times, but you absolutely need to have like the skill set to know exactly how much you're eating.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it long. You can do it for 3 months straight and understand like, hey, chicken breast has for every 4 ounces of raw chicken breast, you have 24 grams of protein, like 1.5 fat, zero carbs. Like it doesn't take long to learn that. And if you can guesstimate that everywhere you go, there would be a severe change in obesity rates and morbidly obese people. Well, morbidly obese, I think you're too far gone. It's like you've already given in. Like
Yeah.
you're past the point of saving unless you're like one out of every what 100 of them, come back. But it is what it is.
I saw this picture of this guy. It was like 1950 something or other, but he was 1,000 pounds. It was like the recorded most heaviest guy. And the first comment was like, "Hey, this is before fast food, man. This guy was really eating." And
Yeah.
like, if you, like for me, like I have no problem tracking food. I think the first month it was like, oh, this is such a burden. But after that, like, man, I look for like not. I don't say I look forward to it, but like I like seeing, okay, hey, I understand what I did today. Like I like, if people like want control over something, I think your eating is an awesome place to like start if you want to control something in your life, and you just, use whatever app that you need and track it, and it changes because then you know like where you're going and where you've been. Uh, if I don't do that, like some days, like on the days that I'm free, I still like in my mind, like you said, I still can track at least closely to like the main thing I need to do is just, hey, stay away from fats. I'm still going to hit my fats. Fats is way too easy to hit in a day. And then just eat as much protein as I can. And carbs you'll naturally stop. Like you won't even want carbs as long as you're filling with protein, at least for me. So I just try to stay away from fats for the most part and just like fill my protein up. But I think if, like what you said, people don't want to track because they don't want to know how much they're actually consuming, and they're in denial that they're overeating.
Yeah.
I was kind of in denial that I was undereating. I felt like, yes, I'm eating enough. I'm eating enough. But then when I started tracking that first week, I was like, dang, I eat so little.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of like retrain myself to eat myself.
And it's like a lot of this stems from just like growing up, what you're taught as you're growing up, because that's going to be the biggest thing. Like how you grew up and you ate with your family, that's probably how you're going to eat the rest of your life,
Mm.
unless something severe changes that. If you were an athlete, you're probably going to eat within your realm of what's going to fuel your workouts. If you were a person who didn't work out and your family just loves to eat a lot, you always had family events where there's lots of food, you didn't work out, you're probably going to continue that trend of just eating lots of food, even outside of family events,
Mm.
because food, for a lot of people, is how you show and send love to people, and it's like it's a sensation of feeling love or sensation of feeling uh, good. You get that quick hit of that dopamine spike. But an easy win. I think everyone should stack up wins throughout their day, like count everything as the win that they planned on doing or what they want to do at least and following through on it. Like tracking a meal, tracking the calories, the macros on a meal, that's an easy win anyone can do. It doesn't even have to be like, oh, I had this certain amount and I made sure I had this certain amount. It could be anything, just as long as you're tracking the food itself and knowing how much you ate. Because now it's in your head. Now you know how much you ate. Now you know if you're getting chunkier or if you're losing weight.
It's
You're
on
like,
you.
okay, I had this much food, so what's my response to that? So it all comes back to personal responsibility.
So how do you think, because you're saying it kind of has to do with how you grew up, how would you say our parents did in terms of like feeding us and modeling correct diet?
Oh, I think our parents did better than most would. A lot of people just keep giving their kids food. Like, uh, I would have for myself, you know, mom and dad would probably give me a little bit extra food there, but it was a mix of things where I got chunky. But I would say for the most part, they were, I'd say, fair enough when it came to that. There are boundaries. We would only get donuts on Sundays when we go to church.
Yeah.
Maybe a special meal every once in a while on Sundays, also maybe Saturdays. But like during the week, we were pretty straight edge. There would be never, unless they literally did not have time to cook, there'd be never any fast food that we would have. Um, maybe if like Ryan or Ruben were picking me up from school, or even you did one time, but you never got me fast food. Ryan would always give me some Wendy's
Nah,
or
man.
7-Eleven. So, I mean, those things would happen. But as far as like home life, you know, mom and dad were pretty straight edge about it.
Yeah. We never had, I'll tell you what, we never had sodas around. Sodas were rare, really rare. We would
Yeah,
have them for like maybe like a week or two after like a Thanksgiving or like a Christmas because other family members would bring them over whenever we had our big like meals.
yeah,
Other than that, like I know we had ice cream on the weekends. There was always ice cream in the house, but we only had it on the weekend. And then I think once I got to high school, mom had candy. Like there was candy all of the time. I'll say that's the one thing. So we had a lot of good food.
yeah.
We had to eat vegetables during like pretty much every lunch or dinner or whatever. There's always food, but candy was always like present. I remember my go-to was those sour licorice, like Sour Patch Kids, but they were the licorice ones.
Yeah.
Mom used to get those from Costco. Man, I used to eat like 6, 7 of those things a day, and but I mean, I was playing basketball 3 hours a day at that point,
Yeah.
and running around and working out. So I mean,
You probably didn't even know how much you were moving around the day too, just like through steps and everything. Also,
oh
just
yeah,
like things you just randomly do because you move around so much as a kid, you
yeah.
don't even realize it.
Especially walking from class to class, you're doing all that, or even just like
Man,
random, like you're chasing somebody because they hit you and you chase them. Like I don't remember the last time I went to like a full on sprint because someone hit me,
yeah,
But in high school, it's like, dude, you're doing that like between classes like every day. So you're running sprints all the time because somebody like hit you on your backpack or grabbed a book from you, and so you're chasing them. There's a lot more activity as a kid, like, and you just do it just because. Now as a grown up, man, if someone stole my wallet, I'm just kind of like, man, I don't even want to run after you. You can go ahead and you can go ahead
yeah.
and take it.
It's like I called the bank. All
Yeah,
right, so I'm good.
yeah. I'll just
That,
I'll just cancel all my cards in my app.
that's the other thing about it. It's like, oh, the ease of access thing.
Yeah,
Another thing, it's like, just think about how many people have financial issues who shouldn't have financial issues, right? They make plenty of money for where they're at, and it's like it's because they want to take a hard look at where their finances are going, where their money's going. You're probably spending too much on eating out, spending too much on, extra clothes that you don't need. It's the same thing across the board. People have a hard time just like doing the hard things of, taking a hard look at themselves. Like, how much am I eating? I'm eating too much. How much am I spending? I'm spending too much. Like, it's very easy to do these things, but it's hard on like a subatomic level where you're just like, "Ugh, I feel on the inside, I feel really bad about this."
yeah. I think it's
Uh,
because we're just marketed to so well, you know, like whether it be like keeping up with the Joneses or like just name the one person or maybe the top 5, 4 people that you follow on social media that are basically have set the example of what's cool to you. And so you think, oh, I have to have this gym gear and I have to work out in this type of a gym. I have to have this type of a car. So now you work for, oh, I got to have like a different gym outfit every day of the week. And that's a lot of people that are in the gym. They're like, their most expensive outfit is a gym outfit, between
yeah,
their shoes, their belt, their headphones or whatever else. Like that's where they spend all of their money. And like, hey, for me, like, so I got to the point in my life where I have absolutely everything that I want. And I realize this is nothing. Like all these things, they're nothing. Like I would rather have a super, super tight knit family that gets along, that we enjoy each other, that we just like each other's company more than stuff. And I'm not saying my family's not like that. I have a great family. We have a combination of both things. But I've found that I value people and community and relationships way more than stuff because stuff gets cluttery. And we're talking stuff even to food. Like you too much too much food
hmm
becomes cluttery as well on your body. It just becomes too much clutter. So just how we're marketed to consume and have so many things it brings clutter to your mind, your body, and your house. So if we could just step away from that and be simple. Um,
yeah,
I have a friend that spends $30 a week on food. I'm like, how? And you eat all your macros? They're like, yeah, I get it all. And it's because they get the no name brand stuff. They buy just the chicken and the vegetables and rice that they need, and they could still get enough. I'm like,
That's the thing. You can definitely buy no-name brand things. The only difference is like sometimes in the ingredients they're a little bit cheaper. So, like, for an example, Faith and I were getting at the store, and I want to make some coconut rice. You know, it's the Filipino in me. I want to make some coconut rice. So I'm looking at two different brands. There's a Thai brand, and there's like some knockoff brand I've never heard of before. So I'm like, I'm not adverse to buying knockoff brands because usually it's just the ingredients that are different. It's nothing special about it itself. Um, so I'm looking at them. One of them says, actual coconut milk in it. The other one says coconut milk extract,
Mm.
like as the first ingredient on there. So immediately I know, like okay, I'm not even having coconut at this point. I'm getting the extract of the coconut. So like, what is the point? I'm not getting the micronutrients I want from it, but I'm also probably not getting the same exact flavor that I want too. Because extract, if you've had vanilla beans and then you've had vanilla bean extract, you
Yeah.
can tell the difference. Like it's an immediate difference. It's less potent and it's less flavorful.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times it just doesn't even taste like real vanilla. But for those instances, it's like you do want to have probably the name brand item. But in other instances where it's like, pasta noodles, more likely you're going to get the same ingredients, the same taste, the same flavor. It's just going to be a different name brand. And a lot of these companies, they do operate under a different name brand that's lesser known. They just own it. So you might just get the cheaper one. It's the same thing.
These are the tips of the trade, people. These are the things you need to know.
Yeah. Always look at the ingredients. That's the easiest thing you can do.
Yeah, because if it's the same thing, especially if it's the same order, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like you're getting the same product. It might be just
Yeah.
different amounts, but for the most part, it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
More than likely, it's going to taste the exact same, unless it's that instance like I just named before with the coconut milk.
Yeah, and then like it's like for me, whenever I buy like medicine, like if I'm gonna get like aspirin, I'm like, well,
Oh yeah,
what's the Target brand? It's the same amount. Okay, well, I'm gonna get the Target brand. I'm not gonna buy the name brand, whatever it
I will
is.
say like some of the HEB stuff, brand medicine works better than name brand.
Yeah,
I'm just like, come on.
yeah. So I think the main thing that the main takeaway is like, hey, there's a lot of overconsumption in all things, and how do we? I think we talked about moderation. Like, hey, track and also pass down good habits to not just your kids but also clients and people around you. It's a different world that we live in, and things are super easy, and people will default to easy, but it just sometimes easy isn't easier. It makes your life harder.
I think the main thing people could take away is just like base everything in reality because a lot of the times when we are not tracking, whether financially, um, calorically, or it's like relationally in our lives, you're just not taking a realistic look at what you're actually using or not using in there. So for most people, it's not tracking accurately. We're not even tracking at all, whether it be for food, taking notes of relationships, or financially looking at how much money you have and how much you're spending. Like these are just simple things that are hard to do.
Hmm.
Very simple an idea, but like hard as in it takes a hit to your ego.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think the whole point of this conversation is, I think we think there's a problem, but we really live in excess more than we realize.
yeah. And you know what? Now we're talking about it really quick. Everyone has access to healthy food. I don't know. There's a lot of people that complain about like, oh, we can't afford healthy food. Like, I went to Costco. I bought the same vegetables that you use for the lumpia, right?
Yeah,
That bag of lumpia. That's like what, $8 for that huge bag.
it lasts forever.
Yeah, that thing will last forever. So you're telling me you can't get vegetables; they're too expensive. You can absolutely get frozen vegetables. There's like little to no difference between the two as far as the micronutrients it holds in there. They literally just flash freeze it from where it was. It's totally fine to have. You will still eat healthy by doing that, and you're saving a lot of money. Like the amount of vegetables that's in that bag is at least 15 times, what you would, well, maybe not 15, 10 times what you would normally get on there. So I would say that much. Like meats, you know, you can get the select. No one's above select.
Yeah, pass the Genio because the Genio is expensive. Just get the
Yeah.
random whatever it
That
is.
Genio's nasty, bro. That's not even real food.
Yeah, I just know that it's expensive, especially when it's, and if it says organic, like you have to do research on that stuff because organic just, there's really no difference. It just makes it mentally
It's
easier
organic
for you.
pesticides they use
Yeah.
for it. Or whatever meat it is, just like they use a little bit less of what they were using.
Yeah. I mean,
It's all marketing.
Yeah, definitely marketing.